This video is for business leaders whose business relies on consistent creative iteration. Have you ever not known your next creative spin, step, or solution? You can lose sleep, sanity, or something else when your muse abandons you, especially if your company's future relies on it. So watch to the end of this video for bonus material on how to take these 3 techniques and apply them to your company immediately. So that's actionable techniques you can use immediately. And for my recommended video with a research-backed technique for turbocharging the quality and creativity of your brainstorming instantly. So putting on a daily video is a good example of how I use these 3 techniques. And I use these basically out of habit from doing it a lot. So they don't always work, and I'm not always happy with the results, but I'll leave it to you to decide whether enough of these now, including this one, 254 videos, are creative successes or not. So, of course, these 3 solutions are in the title, and that is correcting, connecting, and combining. So correcting, this is essentially standing on the shoulders of giants. An example would be each time I do a video, if I do something I don't like, or that I think I could have done better, that would be an example of correcting. I very intentionally iterate. I have a format, a template for my video framework. And every time I come up with a new idea, I will stop what I'm doing, open up that document, usually in the midst of producing a video or writing a script, and add in the changes that I think will make it better. So basically what you want to do is you want to take the best of what's working, if you can, and anything that's working better than nothing. If you can't, then improve upon it. So this is the main way I invent everything. And to me, inventing is everything from what these videos, the solutions I come up with in my consulting and for clients, everything to me is just an invention, whether it's a business model, loss aversion pricing, or anything else, mindsets. To me, they're all inventions. So it leverages one of our most powerful and evolutionarily preserved biases, and that is the negativity bias. It's our species-wide tendency to see negative things and problems even in the best things around us. This was actually an evolutionary advantage because, in the words of Baumeister in his book, The Power of Bad, life has to win every day. Death has to only win once. So essentially, by being negatively biased, that is, that most things we can assume are bad or dangerous, it kept us alive long enough in evolutionary history to pass on our genes. And since those genes for that negativity bias survived in those who reproduced, it's resulted in us. So as a species, we all have the negativity bias, whether we accept it or not. The evidence is overwhelming, to say the least. So it's unlikely that anybody will ever thank you for identifying a problem with something they've done or something they were involved with, at the very least until you offer them a solution. And even then, it's better to frame it as, you're the expert, you have the solution, what do you think about this? And then if they like your idea, you can say, great, and they will more or less adopt it as their own. Essentially, just be very careful. This whole idea of correcting or improving has to be done in the right context, or it will not be received well, and even there, it has to be done well. So essentially, unless it's a situation that's framed as an appropriate place to identify problems, it's probably best to bring these things up no more than once every every fourth time you offer a solution or something positive, or some would say even as high as 1 in every 5.6 times you offer something positive. But if the ratio goes any lower than that, that is, you more often offer constructive feedback, corrective improvements, the problem is going to be that it could harm your relationships because everyone has a fragile ego. Let's be honest about this. If somebody criticizes you too often, regardless of their intention, you won't want to be friends with them anymore. You won't want to work with them anymore. And that ratio has been studied. So 4 or more good job to 1, we could make this better. Or the other thing it's going to probably do is it's going to give you a reputation as being very negative. And though that's species wide, if you go above that ratio, people are just like, oh, they're always negative, despite the fact that we already don't know the number that anything that is regarded as negative or critical is perceived or has about 4 times the power of something positive. So keep that ratio in mind when you use number 1, which is correction. Now, how often do you see things that could be improved, but you say nothing? Probably wisely so. Consider keeping a very private list to use once every 4th solution or positive share you make. And that can help you become the person with the solutions, but be careful of that ratio. So connecting. This is the second one, connecting. This is essentially finding relationships across industries, insights, or ideas, and applying them to what's relevant or solves problems for you or your company. So this is a translation from one area to another. Oftentimes there's a whole lot. It's more than that, though, because it just could be finding relationships between things in general, high-level things, and then going, hey, I have just thought of a new solution that could, because there's relationships that aren't obvious between things. So an example of this would be a magnetic USB data transfer cable. Let's see if I can find the piece I need. Oh, right here. I don't know if you can see this or not. Oh, it's not going to do it. Okay, right there. Essentially what it is it's a USB transfer cable that can also transfer data. That is a data transfer cable, not a charging cable. That has 4 pin connections and then connects to, if you can, oh, it's not going to allow me to see that, 4 connective rings. That is, they're concentric. So what this allows you to do is it allows you to automatically connect. Why don't I demonstrate it? Like this. Oh, like this. At any angle, I can connect my data transfer and charging USB cable to my phone in the dark without my glasses, no problem. So this is an excellent example because I invented this before I found it on the market, but it made it to the market regardless of that. The idea is there are many situations in which you have something that can be connected at any angle, and you translate that over to, in this case, a USB cable. So the next one is combining, and combining is merging 2 or more solutions together. So these things can be obvious, so much so that everyone is envious and thinks, I could have done that. But they usually say that to themselves or to other people, saying how obvious it was. But of course, they never actually follow through, so you never know whether that's true. So for an example of this is replacing fire-based lighting, that is candles or oil lamps or whatever, any kind of fire-based lighting or fuel-based lighting with rechargeable solar lights in developing countries. I believe someone actually won or was nominated for a Nobel Prize for doing that. And I'm totally jealous of that. It's like, isn't that so obvious? Is that really worthy of a Nobel Prize to say, hey, use rechargeable solar lights? But I didn't apply it. So let me think of another one here. So, or, and this is in the case where it's less obvious, ideas that are so way out in left field that everyone says to each other, wow, that's genius. Who would have thunk? So for an example of that, connecting strangers who need a ride with people who are willing to drive them for a fee. Now remember, this is complete strangers. Before Uber existed, this was unthinkable. The idea of having your child get in a stranger's car to drive them to school was unthinkable. And now the opposite is true because there's a certain amount of accountability. Notwithstanding, there was some problems or has been some problems, but in essence, that was beyond what most people would think of. Another example would be connecting strangers who have an empty house with those who want to do a short-term accommodation. Of course, that's Airbnb. So that's it. We've done all three. We've covered them with examples of at least two of them, three, depending how you count it and you conceptualize them. But we've made it to the bonus content. So thank you for watching this far. So try applying these concepts yourself. So unless everything, we're going to start with correcting or correction. And this will work unless everything in your company is already perfect, in which case I can't help you with anything. Now, so correcting is this way. Challenge all of your employees or some subset of them to identify anything that needs improvement, but especially those that are simple and costless or low-cost solutions that can be implemented immediately. Fair warning, because you too have an ego, maybe bigger than most because you're the owner or the founder of the company, the leader. Remember, you asked. You can never punish anyone for doing as you asked, or nobody will ever be honest about this again. So it's a great opportunity, but you're going to have to take your ego and leave it at home or leave it on another continent if you really want this to be effective. You want to make it more effective? Thank them, no matter how much you hate the solution, if you know it's something that's legitimate, and better yet, reward them somehow. Doesn't have to be money, but they won't hate that either. Okay, so if you can't keep yourself or your ego out of it, then just don't use correcting. You're not ready. Your mindset isn't ready. Just don't ask. If it does, it's one of the best opportunities for you to improve your company and create amazing solutions, amazing creative solutions. The next one is connecting, and it's harder, but an all hands meeting after you've done the correcting thing, if you've done that, is really good, because what you could do is it could be an ideal forum for people in different parts of the company to surface challenges or challenges which have already been now anonymized and say, You may find that somebody in a completely different different department puts up their hand and goes, oh yeah, no, we've been doing XYZ for a long time and it works great. And you already have a solution, but remember, a lot of companies don't talk. They live in silos. That connection, that connected creative force could maybe solve something immediately that was a problem. And I've given examples of this in previous videos where vibrating wand used in concrete and cement management or use was then used in another industry, which was pulling oil, making oil, an oil spill more easier to pump, because vibration causes this something called liquefaction, which turns something more solid into something more fluid, or behaves that way as long as it's being vibrated. That's an perfect example of that. So let's see. Yeah, I've already said it. Essentially, that other people in different parts of the company may already have a solution, or other insights may be created by conceptual connections between different departments that never talk. So the next one is combining, and this is probably best left after the preceding two. If you do them both, which is advantageous all the way, with all those creative solutions, that is, you've already done the first two stages, you've done some correcting, you've done some connecting, there's actually a radically increased probability, if I can get my mouth to work again, with all these creative solutions, that some great combinations might even happen simultaneously. So do these three, ideally in that order, but simply combining things, especially in an all-hands situation where it is ideally flat, there is no authority, and there's a technique in the recommended video which will help you avoid the nonsense in the politics which actually destroys much of your creativity in your company unless you're already doing it. So that's it for the application of the three pieces. And my recommended video is Better Brainstorming. It has one amazing, super simple, research-backed way to get superior results when the boss is away, so to speak. So I'll put a link there for that. So if this video, please share it. If this video will help anybody or you know anybody who it could benefit, please share it with them. This has been Crush It Club 254. Create by correcting, connecting, and combining. My name is Tim B. Green. Bye for now.